In the quiet countryside of Lexington, Kentucky, an old farmhouse sat surrounded by golden fields. Inside, Thomas Carter, a retired mechanic with hands weathered by decades of work, spent most evenings on his porch. He had a ritual: 2 chairs, one for himself, and one left empty. That empty chair was for his son, Private First Class Ethan Carter. Ethan had grown up running through those fields, climbing trees, and listening to his father's stories about honor, discipline, and resilience. When he turned 18, he followed those values into the U.S. Army. But for Thomas, the silence since Ethan left had been deafening. In a forward operating base in Kandahar, Afghanistan, Ethan sat under a dim light in a dusty tent. Outside, the hum of generators and the distant sound of gunfire reminded him how fragile life was out here. He pulled out a piece of paper and began writing. It wasn't a letter he ever planned to send unless fate demanded it. Across the top, he wrote in bold letters, "To my father." His pen moved slowly at first, then with urgency, as if each word was carved from his soul. The first line was simple: "Dad, you were my first hero." Ethan's memories flowed. His father teaching him how to ride a bike on a gravel road, showing him how to fix a broken engine, teaching him to shake hands firmly and look a man in the eye. Those small lessons had followed him into the Army. "Everything I know about being a man I learned from you," he wrote. "When I was scared here, I thought of your voice. When I doubted myself, I thought of how you never let me quit. Dad, I carry you with me in every step I take." The letter took a heavier turn. "I know we didn't always say much, Dad. Sometimes we just worked side by side in silence. But I want you to know, those were the moments I loved the most. You might think I joined the Army to prove something, but the truth is, I just wanted to make you proud. If I don't make it home, I need you to know this: I never feared dying half as much as I feared disappointing you." Tears blurred the ink. Ethan hadn't cried in months, but writing those words to his father broke something inside him. Days later, Ethan's unit was assigned to clear a dangerous stretch of road. The desert sun beat down on them as they moved in formation. Then, without warning, an explosion tore through the air. Chaos followed: dust, fire, shouting. Ethan was hit badly, his brothers in arms trying desperately to keep him conscious. He slipped the folded letter into his vest pocket, whispering, "For my dad," before his world went dark. Back in Kentucky, Thomas Carter heard the knock no father ever wants to hear. He opened the door to 2 soldiers in uniform, their faces solemn. Time froze. The porch, the fields, the empty chair. Everything collapsed into silence. The officers spoke, but Thomas barely heard. All he could feel was the weight of a folded flag being placed in his hands. Days later, a sealed envelope arrived. The handwriting was unmistakable: "To my father." Thomas sat at the same porch where he had once told Ethan stories about life. With trembling hands, he opened the letter. "Dad, you were my first hero." As he read each word, tears streamed down his face. The strong man who had built engines, carried lumber, and never showed weakness, now sobbed like a child. Ethan's words painted memories Thomas hadn't thought of in years. When he reached the line, "I never feared dying half as much as I feared disappointing you," Thomas clutched his chest, whispering, "Son, you never disappointed me. Not once." Thomas didn't write back. He couldn't. But every evening after that he spoke aloud to the empty chair on his porch. "Ethan, you made me proud every single day. You were braver than I ever was, and I'll carry your letter with me until my last breath." Neighbors often saw him sitting there, letter in hand, staring at the horizon. For them, it looked like silence. But for Thomas, it was a conversation that never ended. Years passed. The farmhouse aged, the fields changed, but Ethan's letter remained framed above the fireplace. Visitors often asked about it, and Thomas would smile softly. "This," he'd say, pointing to the letter, "isn't just my son's goodbye. It's his way of reminding me that love doesn't end with war. It lives on in every word, every memory, every breath." For Thomas, the letter wasn't just paper. It was his son's voice echoing across time, turning silence into connection. A soldier's last letter doesn't just carry ink. It carries a lifetime of love, pride, and unspoken words. For a father, it is proof that even in death, his son still found a way to sit beside him on the porch, forever his boy, forever his hero,